Well, hello everyone. It's Dr. Chantel Bonman-Senkungu here, also known as Dr. Mom. And today wanted to switch things up a little bit. I've shared with you a bit about herbs, and today wanted to talk about a spice. Just in time for winter and Christmas time, we are going to talk today about cinnamon. First, as always, want to preface this video by saying, yes, I am a family medicine physician. However, I may not be your personal physician. Therefore, anything shared in this video is meant to be information-based so that you can use it as a springboard to have excellent, comprehensive, and fun conversations with your own physician. However, it is not meant to replace any previously prescribed medications or treatment plans that your physician has given you. All right, let's get into it. So I think it's important to first establish what the difference between a spice and an herb is. So herbs are derived from the green leafy portions of a plant. On the contrary, spices tend to come from the root, the seeds, the flower, the bark, or the stem of the plant. However, I should add that some plants serve both purposes. So they are both herbs and spices. One in particular is cilantro, right? That's a very tasty herb, and that comes from the leaf of the plant. But coriander at the seed or root of the plant serves as the spice. Now with cinnamon, there are two different varieties. There is Ceylon cinnamon, and then there's cassia. Now, Ceylon is the milder and sweeter form of cinnamon, and it tends to be the healthier of the two, hence the reason why it's more expensive. Whereas cassia is the more aromatic one and also a bit more potent and more widely distributed and cheaper. It tends to be the variety that you'd find in your grocery store. So Ceylon cinnamon tends to be cultivated in Sri Lanka, in India, in Brazil, and in the Caribbean, whereas cassia, again, the more cheaper and widely distributed version, is mainly exported from China, from Myanmar, and from Indonesia. Now let's get into the health benefits of cinnamon. Did you know that cinnamon is a killer? So honestly, it has antibacterial, antiviral, larvicidal, and antifungal properties where it relates to bacteria, Klebsiella pneumoniae, Listeria, and Salmonella. And certain studies have shown to be susceptible to the components of cinnamon. Now, cinnamon has what's called an aldehyde in it, and an aldehyde is just an organic compound. In short, it's just it's a potent element of cinnamon, and in animal studies that component has been effective against viruses. There is a virus that worldwide has eliminated populations of people, and that virus is HIV, particularly HIV-1 and HIV-2. Those strains, when tested, cinnamon showed to decrease the activity of those pathogens. Now, wouldn't it be great if in the future there could be a cure to HIV, which is the virus that causes AIDS? And how much more beautiful would it be if that cure was naturally based? And so the hope is with more research and funding, cinnamon can be more widely studied and perhaps the savior where it relates to that disease. Also, I mentioned that there are larvicidal properties. What is a larva? A larva is the baby form of an insect. So, for instance, mosquitoes, first, before they have wings and they're flying and buzzing around and they are, infecting people with deadly pathogens, they are larvae. Flies also have a larvae stage, and they're gross, okay? Take a look at that picture there. Yuck. but cinnamon is able to kill larvae. The number one disease killer in the United States of Americans is cardiovascular disease, so diseases of the heart. But the heart is just one organ composed of many different structures and blood vessels, etc. So there have been studies that show that cinnamon can lower blood pressure. And we know that with increased blood pressure, you or a person can have an increased risk of heart disease. So that's cool. It can help lower blood pressure. There's another big disease called diabetes. If you haven't heard about it, I'd be surprised because it is so prevalent. Now, diabetes is, to put it simply, a disease in which there is too much sugar in your blood vessels, and that can lead to a number of different issues, affect your eyes, heart, kidneys, several other organs. And so cinnamon has been shown to lower blood sugar. So how does cinnamon lower blood sugar? For all you pre-med and med students, it's gonna get a little bit technical right now. So let's delve into it. First, it increases the body's sensitivity to insulin. Second, it inhibits the intestinal alpha glucosidase and pancreatic alpha amylase. And lastly, it slows down the rate of carbohydrate digestion in the small intestine, which in effect affects the postprandial blood sugar. The question always arises, how much cinnamon is good to take, right? So in diabetes, for instance, well, half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon a day can be an effective dose in lowering your blood sugar, but obviously it depends on the type of cinnamon that you ingest and also your underlying physiology. There are also anti-cancer properties inhabited by cinnamon, and so it does this by affecting the angiogenesis of cancer cells. But there is more research that needs to be done. It's not a cure for cancer, and there is just a study that showed how it inhibited the formation of these blood vessels, but nevertheless promising. There are a couple of neurodegenerative diseases or diseases that affect the nervous system, namely the brain. And these two diseases are called Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Again, both of them very well known, and so I'm sure you've heard of them both. As an example, Muhammad Ali, right? He tends to be the token image of a person with or who had Parkinson's disease. And with cinnamon, it has shown to increase proteins that help to protect the brain. 2 proteins specifically, which are affected in Parkinson's disease. These are good proteins, and cinnamon helps to upregulate or increase the number of these proteins, which are good for the brain. Parkinson's is a neurological disease that affects one's speech and motor movement and memory. Alzheimer's, another one in which memory is affected and deteriorates over time. There can be in the brain of a person with Alzheimer's an aggregation or collection of proteins that are harmful to the brain, also known as tau proteins, TAU. And cinnamon can block the aggregation or the gathering of these naughty proteins, which again is so exciting. Who knew that something as simple as cinnamon could have so many wide-ranging effects, right? So we talked about the antiviral, antibacterial, larvicidal, and it has antifungal properties. It affects diabetes by lowering the blood sugar. Also, It helps in lowering blood pressure, which can lead to cardiovascular or heart disease. Another great thing that it does is it lowers blood cholesterol. Now, when cholesterol is too high, one could be at risk for, again, cardiovascular disease. To keep things simple, what cinnamon does is it can increase the amount of good cholesterol, which helps to keep the arteries clean, and at the same time it lowers the amount of bad cholesterol. So why do we call it good and bad cholesterol? Well, the good cholesterol, HDL, in higher levels has been correlated with lower risk for heart disease, heart attack, heart problems. And LDL, on the contrary, also known as the bad cholesterol, when it is high, there's a higher risk of heart disease. Cinnamon, again, to the rescue because it's helping in contributing to good health. We also talked about how it helps to protect the brain and how it's been shown to affect cancer tumors. And so, as is typical, right, too much of a good thing can become a bad thing. And we've talked before about this in this substance called coumarin. Cinnamon does have levels of coumarin in it. And so, you want to always discuss cinnamon or any other supplement or herb or spice that has any sort of medicinal or health effects or benefits, or sometimes they can be harmful, with your physician, just to make sure that you're not taking too much. Coumarin, especially if you're already on a blood thinner, or also if you naturally have a blood dyscrasia or a blood disease, which makes your blood more thin, you want to discuss with your physician as well. Well, I'm so happy that you joined me today in talking about cinnamon. It's one of my favorite spices, and obviously, as discussed, some very exciting things may potentially be on the horizon with cinnamon and its benefits. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that it was informational. Please go to www.itsdrmom.com and send me a message about anything. You can say hello, or you can request certain topics that I could discuss on a future video. Also, I am endeavoring to improve healthcare with your help. And so look forward to sharing much more with you in future videos. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.